tonight, Westminster waits. Rowdy scenes in the Commons as tension builds ahead of the release of the report on possible lockdown breaches at Downing Street.
That he's a lawyer, not a leader.
I would prefer to be led by a lawyer than a liar. Will he now resign?
Also making the headlines, council tenants living with damp and mould say their pleas for repairs are not being listened to.
And a devastating impact, how businesses in the Trossachs are counting the environmental and financial cost of winter storms.
I'm Kellyanne Woodland in Edinburgh.
And I'm John Mackay in Glasgow. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. Westminster is waiting tonight for the release of the long-awaited report on potential lockdown breaches at Downing Street. Many believe it will determine the future of the Prime Minister. At a stormy Prime Minister's questions, Mr Johnson pushed back against repeated calls for him to resign over what has become known as Partygate.
His cabinet ministers have been accused of treating the union with utter disdain to try to save his skin. The claim came from the Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer during exchanges in the Commons. The Prime Minister insists he's getting on with the job. Our Westminster correspondent Catherine Sampson reports.
Sometimes it feels there'll be no end to the limbo. Boris Johnson set off today on his usual trip to the Commons in the most unusual of circumstances, with a police investigation and Sue Gray's report into allegations of lockdown parties looming over him. He says he's going nowhere and getting on with the job. His opponents are in a waiting game.
The Ministerial Code says that ministers who knowingly mislead Parliament will be expected to offer their resignation. Does the Prime Minister believe that applies to him?
Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, of course, but let me tell the House that I think he's inviting a question about an investigation which, as you know, Mr Speaker, I can't comment.
Frankly, the public have made up their minds. They know he's not fit for the job, and that's what really matters here. Throughout this scandal, the Tories have done immense damage to public trust. When the leader of the Scottish Conservatives said the Prime Minister should resign, the leader of the House called him a lightweight. English Conservatives publicly undermining the Union by treating Scotland with utter disdain. How much damage are the Prime Minister and his Cabinet prepared to do to save his skin?
We love this country and we're doing everything in our power to help this country. I tell you the reason he wants me out of the way is because he knows that this government can be trusted to deliver. And we did. The problem with the Labour Party today, Mr Speaker, is that he's a lawyer, not a leader. That's the truth.
I would prefer to be led by a lawyer than a liar. Will he now resign?
The SNP's Westminster leader said Partygate was distracting from other huge issues.
The impending national insurance tax hike hangs like a guillotine while they eat cake. This is nothing short of a crisis. And the only route out, the only route to restore public trust is for the Prime Minister to go.
Well, Mr Speaker, I don't know who's been eating more cake.
Out on a jog this morning, the Prime Minister's dog took the lead, but it's still unclear tonight exactly what direction this whole thing is heading in.
Well, live now to Catherine in Westminster. And is there any steer on when we can expect this report from Sue Gray now?
Well, look, this Sue Gray saga rumbles on tonight. Now, the House of Commons, it packed up around 20 to 5. That means that even if her report is delivered to the Prime Minister tonight, we won't get a statement on it from him until at least tomorrow. The understanding is the report is finished and they're just going through the final details. Now, in terms of where this is all going, there are some who will be speculating here that that session of Prime Minister's questions you just watched in my report could be Boris Johnson's last. There are others who would argue that that is far from certain, and the limbo over this could even roll on into Monday next week. All we can do is wait and watch.
Indeed. All right, Catherine, keep us posted. Thank you. Now, council tenants in some of Edinburgh's most deprived areas have told STV News they're living with damp, mould and condemned windows, with repeated requests for repairs being ignored.
A recent report found almost 500 cases of dampness in council-owned properties. The local authority says the system has been badly affected by COVID, but improvements are being made. Here's our political reporter Laura Alderman.
Baby Jackson is just 6 weeks old, but mum Dawn Michelle doesn't want the first thing he sees to be this. Their council house in the Muirhouse area of Edinburgh is full of damp and mould.
It's horrible. I didn't want to bath them, but you need bathed and showered, so you have to.
Yeah. Do you worry about their health at all with that? Yeah.
When I'm walking upstairs, I'll walk up with like that. It's like try and cover it for that bit there. I'm not wanting them to breathe it in.
Dawn Michelle says the council promised it would be fixed before Jackson was born. She's still waiting.
If it was them in that situation, it'd be a different story. But it's because they're not living in it, so why they're not bothered.
We reported on housing conditions here back in 2019. Long-term residents say little has changed.
It's demoralising. It reminds you that people don't really care about, what you have to live with when you spend months and months during a pandemic with damp that makes you cough every day. So many people have just given up. I mean, I've met people who pay to get their own repairs done because it's easier than dealing with the council.
Almost 500 cases of dampness have been identified in council properties across Edinburgh. Almost half are here in the northwest, and the vast majority have not yet been dealt with. Robin lives in a council flat in Morden in the southeast of the city. The property is constantly cold and drafty, caused by what she says are broken, defective windows.
It's absolutely freezing. I've actually just been told by my doctor that if I stay in the house as cold as it is with the chest infection I've got, I'm probably going to develop pneumonia. Nobody wants to come and actually see what's going on and fix it. We've been waiting for over 5 years, even though I've been here for 5 years. The issues have been here longer. And the council are constantly just blaming COVID and the staffing issues instead of actually coming to fix it. We're having empty promises and getting nowhere with it.
Edinburgh Council say their services are improving.
Just after Christmas we had up to 40% of staff off in some frontline trades, so that obviously impacts. We do have contractors that we go to help supplement council services, our own in-house services. Obviously, they were impacted in very similar ways, so it has been challenging. But having said that, it's an absolute priority that our tenants' homes are maintained.
With energy prices and the cost of living rising rapidly, tenants like Dawn Michelle just want a warm and a safe home, and most importantly, to be listened to. Laura Alderman, STV News.
In the 4 decades after the Second World War, thousands of unmarried mothers were forced into giving up their babies for adoption. It led to lifetimes of pain for the women and families affected.
Now, an online questionnaire is gathering the personal stories of those affected. Some women have been sharing their experiences with our chief reporter, Sharon Frew.
Bonded by their experiences and by heartbreak, all around this table as young women had their babies adopted because they were unmarried.
The feelings of shame and disenfranchised grief and trauma that are common to us is quite extraordinary, and there are so many women who have hidden that for decades.
You were very isolated, and I think, when you're isolated, you believe you're the only person that this happens to, that you have to just get on with it. I was in a mother and baby home, Salvation Army mother and baby home. After I had my son, I was in the nursery for 6 weeks looking after him, but nobody told me they were taking him away. And I was just sent upstairs the very last day and told to pack my bags and go, not knowing that I was never seeing my son again.
As campaigners continue to push for an official government apology, others affected by forced adoption are being urged to break the silence they've maintained for decades. The Scottish Government say the responses to this new online questionnaire will help to establish what kind of support may be needed. Information can be given anonymously.
Our aim is to engage with as many people as possible and to hear their views. I think that's really important in ensuring that the way forward is the way that is going to best support people who have experienced historical adoption practice.
These women want to see more counselling as well as improved access to birth records and better reunion services. Lisa was eventually reunited with her son, who was taken from her as a newborn. 7 years after this meeting, Chris died in a car accident.
Part of me was grieving the baby that I was never allowed to grieve previously, and I was grieving the man that I knew and the friend. And I realised at that point I'd never even spoken to another mother that had been through this.
Elspeth first met her son in front of a television audience.
I found my son, but he's in Australia, and that's the bit that I find quite hard now. I think he's going to be 60 in May, and I've only seen him 3 times. So it's difficult. I just don't think that should ever have happened. People think it's silly getting an apology, what's it going to do now? But I think it should be recognised.
Australia issued the world's first government formal apology for forced adoption. Campaigners here say families need more than a sorry.
As soon as the apology happened from Julia Gillard in 2013, women came forward in their droves, and there wasn't the training, there weren't the support services available. Adoptees need to hear that they weren't rejected, they weren't unloved, nobody didn't want them enough. So there are important things for people to hear. Mothers need to hear that they were never unfit to mother their children.
The online petition will be open for the next 12 weeks. Sharon Frew, STV News.
Other stories across Scotland, and rehabilitation rather than jail sentences will be the main focus for young offenders under new sentencing guidelines. They apply to people under 25 and will take addiction, a person's childhood and trauma into consideration. Law experts in the Scottish Government hope it will reduce reoffending.
ScotRail says the reduced timetable introduced at the start of the month is being extended into February. Daily train services were cut by around 8% as the Omicron variant caused staff shortages on the network.
Scotland's economy has recovered to pre-pandemic levels. The latest data showed the country's output grew by 0.8% in November and now sits at 0.6% above where it sat on February 2020.
Now, a senior intensive care consultant is campaigning to introduce free period products to NHS toilets across Scotland to avoid staff having to go without for long stretches of the day. Dr Barua says it would help bring equity to women at work.
One social enterprise firm is engaging with NHS health boards to help provide free and sustainable products. Ivana Holland reports.
12-hour shifts on an NHS ward are gruelling at the best of times. But for women working whilst on their period with no access to products can be a nightmare. The British Medical Association and Dr Barua are out to change that.
And the fact that it's just not thought about is something that is not just important, but is incredibly shameful, humiliating, distracting, unpleasant, just horrible to feel that you're going to bleed through your clothing and your employer doesn't see it as being a priority to stop that happening. So in terms of just trying to exist as a worker and have your dignity maintained, it does make you feel that that isn't somehow seen as a priority.
Sprawling hospital sites and high patient demands means it's not easy for staff to get sorted quickly.
If they're in patient care or a domestic doing a clean, they can't just drop things and leave because a lot of staff will have a long way to walk to go into the changing rooms or to the toilets and things, or to get their own things. If they're regularly available in the toilets, it's absolutely fantastic for everybody.
It was a year ago when Scotland became the first country in the world to introduce legislation that provided free period products. They are introduced into schools, colleges and universities. A Freedom of Information request has shown that 5 of Scotland's 14 health boards don't supply free period products.
The Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow is working with Hey Girls, the social enterprise firm, to provide staff and visitors with sustainable products.
With the cups and our period pants, the sustainability, they're reusable. A cup you can have for 10 years. And so you can pick up, if you're an NHS worker, especially at the Queen Elizabeth, hopefully soon that'll be coming out, you'll be able to pick up a cup for free, and then you can have that for 10 years, which means you could be period product free for 10 years.
Plans for a pilot project in NHS Lothian are underway. Ivana Holland, STV News.
More than 8 weeks on from Storm Arwen, the cost of the damage caused is still being counted. In the Trossachs Queen Elizabeth Forest Park, a woodland that has stood for half a century has been destroyed, leaving both the park and businesses who use it with a significant clean-up operation. Ollie Dickinson has been to see the impact.
In November last year, a once-in-a-generation storm caused huge damage to areas of the north and east of Scotland. Storm Arwen cut off communities, downed power lines and destroyed woodland. And whilst most of the west of the country escaped unscathed, the Queen Elizabeth Forest Park in the Trossachs did not.
Storm Arwen, it was quite catastrophic, the damage that was done to the forest park. There was trees down all over the place, very popular bit for walkers. Thousands of trees down came across the whole region. So quite a lot of damage in the grand scheme of things.
The park stretches from the east shore of Loch Lomond to the hills of Strathire, with enough trees to cover more than 50,000 rugby pitches. And the damage here is significant. Roads and paths are blocked, huge trees ripped in half by the wind, many dangerously unstable.
From where you would park your car at the forest entrance, it might look safe, but some of the roads are still blocked and some of the paths are still blocked, and it is extremely dangerous. The trees might look safe and they might look like they're still standing, but you get hung up tops, snap tops that could be in the trees, and it's just waiting for that gust of wind to blow that, and you could end up with a branch, or even worse, half a tree coming down on top of you.
People who use the park for work have also been left counting the cost. Elizabeth Gilmore runs a cycling club using the park's trails and tracks, something she only got back to last weekend.
It was just bizarre because just went out in the forest, we were going for a bike ride, I had a few people with me, and we came across a tree down, and then we took about 5 different ways, and every way we went there was just masses of trees down, and I've never seen anything like it.
Tree surgeons are working around the clock to clean up, and will be for some time, after so much of a forest that stood for decades was torn down in a matter of hours. Ollie Dickinson, STV News, Aberfoyle.
Plenty of football tonight. Rahman has the latest.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Good evening. Ange Postecoglou says Celtic have the squad depth to cope with a number of injuries as they prepare to take on Hearts tonight. Recent signing Matt O'Reilly is in line to make his debut for the club. Jamie Borthwick is at Tynecastle.
Yes, this is the 4th meeting of these two teams this season, and so far each one has gone the way of the home side. The Premiership campaign kicked off here with Hearts defeating Celtic by 2-1, courtesy of a late winner from the head of John Souttar. And then at Celtic Park it was 1-0 to the hosts, with the goal coming in the first half courtesy of Kyogo.
We lost narrowly, but obviously it wasn't a great way to start the league, but I think we're a different team now. We have been for quite a while, to be fair, not in the last sort of couple of weeks, and as I said, it's the 4th time we play them, so we kind of know what we're going to get.
It's a great game for us. It'll be a full house. We'll have 19,000 jambos there, brilliant atmosphere. It's one that we believe we can go and win. We've won already this season against Celtic. If we can get a result there, it sets us up really well for the next few games, which will be tough.
Well, Celtic come into this one with a lengthy injury list there, without Kyogo, without captain Callum McGregor and Scotland midfielder David Turnbull, while Dyson Maeda and Tom Rogic are both away on international duty. For Hearts, John Souttar is fit and available after recovering from his ankle knock, and they hope to have new loan signing Ellis Sims available to take a place on the bench. It's been close ones between these two teams all season. There's plenty of stake here tonight at Tynecastle Park.
Yeah, it should be a cracker there. Well, Rangers face Livingston tonight, and Fashion Sakala says he's ready to fill the void left by Alfredo Morelos, who is away on international duty. Sakala scored in the 3-1 win the last time the two sides met in November. The Ibrox side have a 4-point lead at the top of the Premiership.
It's always nice when the full squad is there. We are all prepared for the game. But at the same time, I have to accept the situation and be ready for the game. So I think we are ready for the game, and we are all capable of giving the boss what he wants. I think we just have to keep on doing what we are doing. There is nothing to change much. I think all the teams we have played in the past, they are always doing the same thing, playing with the low block.
St Mirren manager Jim Goodwin says his players were outstanding as his team defeated Aberdeen last night. Conor Ronan scored the only goal of the game to secure the 3 points. The win moves the Buddies up to 8th in the Premiership. Tennis news, and Gordon Reid and doubles partner Alfie Hewitt secured a 9th consecutive Grand Slam title at the Australian Open. The duo won the doubles final 6-2, 4-6, 10-7. It's their 3rd successive title down under. Rugby now, and Gregor Townsend believes Scotland are equipped to break their glass ceiling and challenge to win the Six Nations this year. Townsend's side have regularly recorded 3-win championships under his charge and know they need to take that further step to be in the mix for a first title since 1999. Sheila McClan reports.
Back on the training ground, and excitement is building as a new tournament edges closer. Ahead of his 5th Six Nations Championship as head coach, Gregor Townsend believes his side can achieve something special.
Well, yeah, we would obviously love to win more than three games. I think if you win more than 3 games, you're going to finish in the top 2. And our aim is to do as well as we can. We've had the experiences, we've got the players, and we have the belief to do as well as we've ever done. But we know the teams around us are all playing really well. And they've shown that in November, so it's going to be as big a challenge as ever, if not even bigger.
First up is the defence of the Calcutta Cup after ending a 38-year wait to win at Twickenham in the last campaign. And while the Scots think that counts for nothing this year, Townsend's old adversary Eddie Jones has been impressed with their progress.
They're well coached, Scotland, by Gregor. He picked a number of players for the Lions, and we saw the result of that in the autumn, that they played some very good rugby on the result of having that opportunity for the Lions. So we're looking forward to playing Scotland. They're going to be pretty confident. They're probably up in Edinburgh now, not escaping the fires like us and being able to train well. So we're looking forward to meeting them, mate.
Townsend hopes to welcome back Duhan van der Merwe, Kyle Rowe and Josh Bayliss early next week for the build-up to the tournament opener at Murrayfield.
And one final piece of football news. Championship and League One clubs have voted to increase the number of subs from 3 to 5.
Get your fill of the action. STV Sports, sponsored by Papa John's Pizza.
Now, Sean has the weather, and there are some bright colours on his chart, and apparently that isn't good.
Watch out for a sudden temperature drop. TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
Well, I actually think you could probably have a go at doing the forecast yourself, because we are really stuck in a rut just now. The weather in a real pattern today: milder air, wet and windy weather. Then tomorrow we go into cooler air, showery weather. Then we go back into milder, wetter, windier weather on Friday. Saturday back into cooler air and showery weather. Can you guess Sunday? Yep. We're back into milder air, also wet and windy. But I'm keeping a close eye on Sunday, because the winds then could be quite a bit stronger. There is the risk that this deep low pressure could move in. A few of our models have really tightened that up, and that just means there is the risk of some stormy conditions on Sunday. But I will keep an eye on it for you. It is just a few computer models at this stage. Now, for the time being, it's windy enough out there. Windy old evening to come, some gusty winds as well, and that rain moving its way southwards, and gales still around the west coast. But the winds slowly easing down, the rain easing as well, becoming more showery as the slightly cooler conditions come in from the northwest. Now, even though I had a lot of blue on the map for tomorrow, we do go into that colder air, but I should really just say cooler, because, well, temperatures are still going to manage up to about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius tomorrow, but much better in the way of sunshine, especially central and southern parts. A lot of dry and sunny weather tomorrow. There will be a peppering of showers across Argyll and the Highlands, a few of those reaching the Glasgow area. Then as we head into Friday, yes, we're back to the milder conditions, along with the wind and rain. Bye-bye.
TUI Blue Hotels sponsor STV Weather.
And that's all from us tonight.
From all of us here, thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Good night.
Bye-bye.